Hello and welcome to yet another video from the Best of CET series. So today we have video on analogies, which is from abstract reasoning. We have 5 questions. I would want you to wait on every question for about 45 seconds to 50 seconds. Try to solve it and then come back to the solution. So let's get started.
If you like our content and want to experience the IMS pedagogy, you can join the IMS Zero Fee Prep programs that will give you access to concept videos, sectionals, full-length tests and more for free. You may click on the I button or on the link in the description box below to access the same. Happy learning!
So this is the first question that you have. Pause the video. About 45 seconds to maximum of 1 minute should be sufficient for this. So pause the video and then come back. Okay, so let's look at the solution for this one. Now the question in analogies is essentially to understand what is the relationship from one image to the other, and then how do you replicate that logic to the third and the fourth one. So now if I look at the first two parts of this question, what I will see is the central figure that you have. So if you look at this shape and then what is happening to this shape, you can say that this is 90 degrees anti-clockwise rotation. Okay, so that is the 90 degrees anti-clockwise, and what we are going to do is we are going to do the same thing on the central piece. Now if you do 90 degree anti-clockwise, what will happen is this shape is going to appear something like this. Okay, now let's see what all options we can eliminate using this one. So using this, I can definitely eliminate the first one, I can eliminate second, I can also eliminate the fourth one. So we are left between 3 and 5. Now again, you can focus on any one of the shapes that is there in the figure. I'm going to look at this one. So let me try and see what is happening to the one which is in the top left corner. Now the top left one goes actually to the bottom right, but then there is some rotation that is happening. So if you observe it carefully, you will have to first of all rotate it 90 degrees clockwise and then take mirror image of it. So you will have to do 90 degrees clockwise and then take a mirror image of this to get that shape. So if I apply the same principle on this shape, which looks something like this, the 90 degree clockwise rotation will put it in this manner, and then when you take mirror of this, it is going to appear something like this. Now if you observe our options 3 and 5, you can see that happening in option 5, so that is going to be your answer for this question. Let's move to the second question. Again, pause the video about 45 seconds to a minute and then come back. Alright, let's look at the solution. Now what I'm going to do is again use the same methodology that we have followed. I'm going to focus on one particular object and then see what is happening to that object. So here for example, again let's start with the figure in the central, and what you can see is this is 90 degrees anti-clockwise rotation. So the first thing that you have to do is 90 degrees anti-clockwise, and once you do that, you will have to take water image of this. Okay, so we are doing 90 degree clockwise followed by a water image. I'm going to do the same thing for the central one. So let me draw it here. Now when I do a 90 degree anti-clockwise rotation, it is going to look something like this. And when I take water image of this, it's going to look something like this. So we should have something which looks like SS in the center. So that eliminates option 2. It eliminates option 4 and it also eliminates option 5. So we are left between 1 and 3. Now let's focus on again the top left maybe. So if I look at top left alpha, 90 degree clockwise rotation is going to give you this shape. So if I apply the same principle on this and I do the 90 degree clockwise rotation, I'm going to get V here. So in our top left we should have V. Unfortunately it is happening in both 1 and 3. Right? So let's see which is different in 1 and 3. So if I check V, it's same as V here, then you have inverted V which is also same. So if I focus on the bottom left, I think we should be able to get to the right answer. Now what is there in bottom left? Let's look at that. So this object if you see, right, or rather I need to focus on this one now because that is what is going to the bottom left. So beta and beta. Now what is this? Simply 90 degree clockwise rotation. So I'll have to do that here, which means when I do a 90 degree clockwise, this is going to become V. So I need to have a V, and that is why option 1 is my answer. Let's go to the third question. 45 seconds should be enough for this. So pause the video, try the question and then come back. Okay, Now, whenever you have question mark at the third position, it's better to focus on what is happening from 2 to 1 and then replicate that from 4 to 3 so that it becomes a little easier. So I'll have to change my view a little bit and think of, okay, what is happening from 2 to 1, and let me do the same thing from 4 to 3. That will be a little easier for you. So here, for example, if I observe the first shape, okay, now I have something like this, right? And when I go from 2 to 1, it becomes like this. Now, if you think of it, what is this? This is simply 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So there is a rotation which is 90 degrees anti-clockwise. If I do the same thing on this one, right? So we have a shape which looks like this, and now I have to do a 90 degree anti-clockwise rotation. It is going to become like this. So I should have circle at the end of that segment towards the left hand side, which means I can eliminate option 2, we can eliminate option 4 as well. So we are left between 1, 3 and 5. Again, let's pick another object and try to see what is going on. So if I look at this one, which has that arrowhead, the arrowhead from 2 to 1 is essentially just rotation of 90 degrees anti-clockwise. I'll have to do the same thing on this arrow now. Now 90 degrees anti-clockwise rotation, how it will look? It will start pointing towards right. So I should have arrow pointing in the right direction. Again, we can eliminate 5 because of this. Let's go ahead. I'm going to focus on this one first. So if I focus on that and see what is happening from 2 to 1, I will realize that again this is 90 degrees anti-clockwise movement. So let me pick the last object, right? And it is looking like this. So when I do a 90 degree anti-clockwise, it is going to appear in this manner. So let's look at our 1 and 3, and 1 and 3, by the way, both have the same shape. So again, we'll have to go and look at what is happening for the last one. So when I concentrate on the remaining piece now, which has something like this, so from 2 to 1, it is becoming this one, which is nothing but again a 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So what I need to do is, for the remaining shape that we have, which looks like this, a 90 degree anti-clockwise rotation is going to make it like this. So your answer is going to be answer option 1. Let's move to the next question. The shading questions are generally very difficult, so see if you can solve it in a minute. If not possible, a maximum of 1 minute 15 seconds should be sufficient. Give it a try and then come back to the video. So this indeed was a little tricky. Now what you need to focus on is the edges of the square and how the shaded region sort of jumps across those edges. So if I observe the first one as to what is happening in the top left corner, you will realize that the shading is like this. And when you compare that same position here, you will see that the shading has gone to the bottom of the square, or that edge as you call it. So can I think of it this way, that this is nothing but the shading moving from one edge to another in a clockwise manner. So if I think from here to here, that's a clockwise movement. If I were to think from here to here, then it becomes an anti-clockwise movement. So if I apply the same principle here and try to find the anti-clockwise movement of shading, I will have to shade the upper region. So that is something that should work. Now let's see what all options we can eliminate using this. So first one is out, and the fourth one is out, and the fifth one is out also. So we have eliminated 3 options nicely. Let's see what is happening for the next one. So if I focus on this, right, again you will realize that this is anti-clockwise movement of shading. Or you can say that you take that shape and just rotate it 90 degree anti-clockwise. That is also one way to look at it. So if I apply the same principle here and I do a 90 degree anti-clockwise movement, I will have the bottom part shaded. So when I look at my options now, 2 and 3 both have the same thing. So you'll have to go ahead and look for the others. So if I concentrate now here and then see, okay, what is happening here, it's actually going ahead. So that is clockwise rotation. So I'll have to rotate this one clockwise. Now when I do that, the left hand side will get shaded, right? Again, 2 and 3 both have the same thing. I'm not going to look at the middle one now, because for both of them this is identical. So there's no point looking at that shape. Let's go ahead. Now again focus on these two. So the bottom left one, what is happening from 2 to 1? From 2 to 1 it is anti-clockwise movement. So I'll have to do the same thing here as well. Again an anti-clockwise rotation, which means my answer should have shading on this side. And with this, we can actually eliminate option 3, and that gives us our answer, which is answer option 2. So we are on the last question for the video. Give it a try. I think 30 seconds should also be sufficient if you focus on the right elements. Pause the video and then come back. I hope you were able to solve it in 30 seconds. So I'm going to focus on the bottom row because that is something that I looked at first. So when I look at Y, the shape Y, it's just getting inverted and moving to the center, right? I apply the same principle on M or rather W, and if I invert it, I'm going to have M in the center. Let's eliminate this, eliminate this, eliminate this. So you're left between, or rather we can eliminate 2 as well. So there's only one option remaining. Now let me see if it is working fine for other elements, though I've got my answer, and in the exam I'll not really check for others, but I'm just going to see if it is making sense. The Z is moving to the extreme end, so X should move to the extreme end, and this shape that you have, right, gets inverted. So if I invert V, I'm going to have something like this. So I should have an inverted V M X, which is what we are getting here. So that's our answer. So these were the 5 questions of analogies. I hope you enjoyed them, and in case you haven't subscribed to the channel, you can do it right away. I'll see you guys in the next one.